in our universe, conversations online are typically these very, very vertical things. And what I mean by that is that if you look at a standard blog post like this one, what you see is the conversation runs this way, right? And this is my post, and even though Audrey commented, it's actually no longer hers, right? She's given me her comment. She can't even go back and look. If I pull this post down, it's over, right? It's gone. So the things that we're interested in exploring now that we've done the things we've done is this notion of horizontal conversations. So again, it's my post, but in a horizontal conversation, Audrey would still own her comment. Okay, so she would essentially be contributing it, but she could track that comment across the web. And I don't know if this is our Audrey, but I appreciate the smackdown on the link, but right? So her comment actually lives in her own space and displayed in mine. So it's not really it's not really where the comment would traditionally be. It's actually sitting in her own environment. So what we're talking about is you separate the blog environment from the comment engine. So you actually have two concurrent services running essentially at the same time. So why would you do this? Well, Carla mentioned this yesterday in her presentation on the panel about comments themselves are artifacts. So if I'm leaving comments as part of what I'm supposed to do as a student, I want to be able to go back and review those just like I would my own blog posts. That's really important. Talking with Keith and in the arts, critique is a critical part of the assessment process, right? So it's almost just as important as the student posting their own original piece of art, of them learning the craft of leaving a critique. And so if you're spreading those comments across the web, it's very difficult to track all of that stuff. So what I want is a system that actually gives me the ability to not only track my own posts across the web, but my own comments across the web. So let me show you this. So this is an example of just a standard blog post here at Penn State, but instead of using the built-in movable type commenting engine, I'm actually using a plugin, not a plugin, but a piece of software called Intense Debate. And it looks just like a standard commenting engine. These are standard comments. But there's several different things that are going on here. First of all, because it's an external commenting engine, I can do a lot of interesting things like use video as a comment as opposed to text. I can embed polls and other kinds of things. So just like I would with a normal comment, but I can do all sorts of other things, like post a video comment. It actually creates, sort of turns on my camera and all that kind of good stuff so I can see myself and I could record that. Now what's going on though is that this itself has a dashboard much like your blog would have a dashboard. So I come over to Intense Debate and what I can see are not only all of the comments that I've left on my own site or have been left at my own site, but also I can see every comment I've made no matter where I am across the social web, as long as they're using this piece of software. And that becomes very important. So imagine now Carla being able to be friends or following all of her students and being able to come to one dashboard and see their contributions across, say, 50 or 100 or 300 blogs in a class. So if you're requiring commenting, now instead of going to each of those individual sites to see the comments, they're all flowing into a central dashboard. So then I can assess somebody across an entire semester and what they're doing. Horizontal being, instead of it being in this single stack, it stretches across. So that's a really important thing. Now, where does all this go? So again, we visited with 6 Apart last week. They have their own instance of this called TypePad Connect. And what TypePad Connect does is it binds your blog account with your comment account. So you have one identity and you have one main dashboard, but it allows you to see your contributions across an entire environment. So for that critique example, Keith can now have 500 students, 1,000 students online doing this, posting their own original work over here, commenting over here, and still being able to connect those dots in a very simple way across that horizontal conversation. So that's horizontal conversations. Hope it was worth the wait.
We have Stevie and Wade doing this tag team, and then Brad, you are on deck.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Wade. I work over at IST, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this guy right here, haptic input device. We have a lab at IST called the Create It Lab, Create It Lab, and it's used to showcase some interesting technologies. One of them being this haptic input device, basically a haptic device. You're probably a lot more familiar with it than you were about 10 years ago, since all the game controllers these days, when when they start vibrating, basically, that's haptic. There's some kind of feedback, a force feedback system. In this case, the haptic pen lets you feel a virtual object. And basically, I'm going to start up a little chunk of video here that I recorded. So this is the interface for the software that the Sensible folks came up with. And this kind of recreates, simulates sculpting in clay. So if I were actually, like about this time yesterday, I was actually doing this. So you just hold this like a pen, and I would be driving this right now. So I'd be watching the screen, and you can not only deform it inwards, but you can, and basically, when you come to a certain point in the 3D space, you feel that surface up there, and with a little extra tug, you can push through and break to the inside, and then make those extrusions like you saw and pull out. So there's lots of, I really like giving demonstrations of this. So if anybody wants, to come down to IST, feel free to drop me an email, and you can try this. It's great to watch people's faces when they first get this. It's one of the weirdest sensations you're going to feel for a while. This is my great artistic ability up here when I was driving this yesterday, but it kind of gives you an idea of how it works, and what I can't tell you how it feels. It's just a little extra, tug when you're working on this. And the nice thing about it is right here, my eyebrow got a little too big there, so Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, boom. And that kind of brings me to one of the collaborative efforts we have going at IST is with a group called National Center for Missing and Exploited Children out of D.C. They do a lot of age progression of missing kids, but they also do forensic work. And traditionally, the forensic process, when you would find unidentified remains, they'd call sculptors in, and they'd make a replica of the skull. And I'll show you, I guess, 2 minutes left. Let me come back here. They'd start with a skull, and then they would lay clay on to create what they thought the person would look like. Since that process would take about 2 weeks, since they started using the haptic pen, they've cut that down to about 3 days worth of work. And that is what an artist who really knows what they're doing can turn a project into, to help identify people. And then if you have an extra $40,000, you can go ahead and print out in 3D, print out the file. Here, go ahead.
One of the reasons that I thought this would make a great lightning talk is that the cost of haptics are actually going down. Not only does the pen give you feedback, but they also have haptic gloves. And one of the things that I envision happening in hopefully the not too distant future is the ability for us to offer students the ability to practice things online that they couldn't normally have done. Things like pottery online. Things like, there's an anthropology class where students go to the libraries to sort of feel bones and figure out which bones they are, and they have to be able to identify them. Imagine if we could do 3D renderings of those online, and students had haptic gloves that they could practice in other ways and not have to get one of the 3 or 5 or 7 sets of bones that we happen to have in the library. So I see this as really expanding our options to areas where you would not have normally even considered putting practice online. But if you do get a chance, you absolutely should go visit Wade down at the Create IT Lab so that you can feel what this pen feels like, because it actually does feel like you're carving out clay. It's very cool.
Then we also have the 3D printer in the same lab, and a 3D scanner, so you'll get a little extra. And I may even take you up to the cave. Who knows,
Up next, we have Brad, and he is followed by Anne and Binky. Are they here? There you are.
How do you switch this to the
Back here.
All right, I'm Brad Kozlik. I work with blogs at Penn State, and I'm going to talk to you today about Penn State Voices, PSU Voices. We got a preview of this earlier during the open session round. You can go just to reiterate some of that, you can go to the blog search here right under blogs PSU EDU, and you can search for entries made in the blog system. You can search based on tags. What I'm going to search right now is for a tag from a course this last spring. And the tag they used was the CYEC Kenya tag. I'm not really sure why that was the tag, but that was the tag they used. So, when we started blogs, one of the questions we kept getting was, well, how do I find my students' posts? I have 50 students, they're all blogging, how do I find them? And so now we have this cross-blog search. All you need to do is tell the students or whatever group you might have that you want to follow, say, well, post your tags relevant to this topic with a certain tag. You can come here, search, and find all the entries. This URL stays the same, so you can link to this. You can embed this in Angel. There's an RSS feed, so you can subscribe to it in Google Reader or whatever RSS reader you use. If you want to republish it, like you have another course website, departmental website, something like that, use the various features of various CMSs and tools to embed RSS feeds. You can embed these entries in that website. Like we're also doing the same thing here, for this event. We're using this LDS CO9 tag, and I come here and I can find all the tags related or the entries related to this event right here, and there's a handful. So, you can all go after this and blog about your experience and tag it, and it'll show up here. So, the thing that's also really interesting about this, if I can get this mouse to work right, get it to stop doing that. On the side here, we have this Voices Beyond PSU. So, in addition to finding all the Learning Design Summer Camp content here that was posted within Penn State, I can click this link, and I can see the YouTube videos, Flickr pictures, delicious links, the latest posts on Twitter. They all show up here. So in addition to the Penn State content, you can also see the content all around the web. So for a case like this where there's an event, this is a very specific tag, so we're finding all the stuff related to this tag. But if you did a more general search, and again, the example we always use is democracy. And if I search on that, so you can find the various posts made in different, all kinds of different capacities. Some are students, some are staff, about democracy. And again, you can click here and find, recent videos, delicious links, Twitter, tweets about democracy. So it can really open up the walls of the classroom. So in addition to simply having the activity happening in your class, you have this sidebar to see what's happening in the world. So current events, what people are talking about, that can all be sucked in and brought into the classroom. And we mentioned this before too, it doesn't just have to be tags. We're pushing 50,000 entries. I'm going to search for any entries that contain the word democracy. I'm going to get way more results and find a lot of different content here at Penn State. And it's pretty fun that you can just start searching for anything to find out what's happening here at Penn State. I just have to check my like for example, just before now I was looking at some here's another example we use, pollination. And part of the reason, you get this idea of cross-pollination of ideas and thoughts. I spelled it wrong. Here you go. And so we see various stuff here. We see some of the Bio 12 stuff that Matt and Tyrone are working on. We see some stuff from some of Carla's students doing lesson plans in biology and talking about pollination. So again, this idea of expending these resources. You know, you're studying biology 12, you come to this page, you're looking at pollination, but then you can also tie into stuff happening in the science ed program and the work they're doing on pollination. Oh, all right. I'm done. Thanks a lot. That's PSU Voices.
Up now is Ann and Benke, and Justin Miller is on deck.
Hi, I'm Binky Lesh, and I work in iTech in the university libraries, and with me is Ann Beeler, who's an information literacy librarian in library learning services in the university libraries. And the two of us co-chair a project that the Penn State Libraries did with the Sony Corporation, and we're just finishing up our first year of the project. So we just wanted to fill you in a little bit about what we've been working on. Oops. Oh, goodness gracious. What? Oh, thank you. Sorry. So our project team was made up of a very fuzzy group of individuals. So maybe it wasn't such a good idea to use Cool Iris for this. But anyway, we had a group of different people in many different parts of the libraries, and it was a real collaborative effort. We also worked with the English department, Stuart Selber and Robin Schultze, and Diana Grunler, who is an English 30 instructor, on some of the projects that we did. And Ann's going to fill you in a little bit about what we did in fall and spring semester.
Okay. So we wanted to try the Sony readers, put them through the paces in a lot of different scenarios in the academic environment. They've been well studied and tested in the consumer market, but not here. So in the fall semester, we put them in place in 2 classes, class settings. I taught a library's first year seminar, and all the students in that class were issued a reader with the course readings for that class, and they were asked to take reader experience surveys throughout that course. So beginning, middle, and end of that class, they gave us feedback. They also gave us a lot of indirect feedback through conversation and also weekly blog postings, which weren't always about the reader, but their impressions of it came through through what they were writing. English 30 Honors Composition was taught by Diana Grunler. She had 2 sections that were using the reader, and they were really engaged with information. Their topics sort of focused around the election, and so there was a lot of fodder for them to experiment with RSS feeds and all kinds of different document types with their Sony readers. They also gave us a lot more information. They did surveys, but they also did video interviews throughout the semester, and they're working on sort of analyzing those videos now. And finally, the libraries began lending 5 of the readers, which were preloaded with titles, and you can actually check them out. They're available over in the Course Reserve Reading Room for you to check out and try out with best-selling titles. And then in the spring semester, we changed things a little bit. starting at the bottom, actually, we changed the lending program a little bit. We added more readers because a lot of people just really wanted to try out the device. We also sort of changed our content loading model a little bit, and it turned out that people didn't care what theme of reading was on the device. They just really wanted to try it out. So we really maximized our titles, and they have all kinds of things loaded on them. English 30 was offered again, this time taught by graduate assistants who were also using the Sony readers in their seminar taught by Stuart Selber. And so that was a little bit of a different experience because those instructors had a lot different opinions about the devices than our faculty instructor. And then we tried it out in disability services to see whether these devices could be of any use to some of our students with learning disabilities, visual impairments, and they really failed miserably with that population, to be honest. So that's what Spring brought. And Binky's going to talk a little bit about, in a nutshell, some of our findings and what we're looking at next.
So basically what we found with the project that we've done is that students really have an emotional tie to the physical book and the being able to flip forward and backward and do notations on pages and that kind of thing. We found the devices that we used, I didn't mention this before, these are the Sony Reader 505s and, Wow, that was really bad. Sorry. And we were going to give away door prizes. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is the DX, and then these are just
I'm just changing the input now.
yeah. But here
It's thinking. Justin Miller is up, and Jeff Swain is on deck. This hasn't come up yet. You brought up a question right there.
There we go.
Come on.
My name is Justin Miller, and I'm a consultant for Digital Commons. I'm going to talk to you about Xtranormal. And that is spelled without the E. I was going to demo the software for you, or the tool online today, but their website is down for maintenance and has not come back up yet. But I will show you the interface since I have a screen capture, and I'll show you a few examples on YouTube. Xtranormal is a 3D character animation tool, and there's a lot of different tools, or a lot of different uses you can use this for. One of them being possibly pre-visualization. If I have a video assignment or if I'm doing a video, I could use this to kind of play with different camera angles and different setups just to kind of get an idea of how I might use this or how I might shoot my video. Additionally, this is a pretty robust tool, so you can actually make this your video instead of actually using it as a pre-production tool. Just to go through it real quick, you can type in your script here and you can go line for line, and different characters within the animation will then use a computer-generated voice to act out your scene. And I can manually put in, by just dragging and dropping, I can manually put in camera angles, physical movements, expressions, looks. I can have them look at the camera. I can make them point, put in pauses. I can also, if I scroll down, I can add my own background scenes. I can upload an image, or I can use pre-built background scenes. I can add music if I want to add music. I can change the characters. There are some limitations here. This is a free tool. And the free tool limitations are 2 actors. You can use 1 or 2. You can't go over that without paying currently. That may change, but as of right now, the 2 character limit is it. There's different styles of animations. You can use robots. You can use different styles. You'll see when I show you the examples some of the styles you can use. And it's real simple to use. It's just everything's drag and drop, plug in the script. I can use what's called this magic cam. And so if I don't know what camera angles I want to use, I can just let the application or the tool decide for me. So I'm going to swing over to their YouTube channel and I'll just show you some of the videos.
Greetings. We, the robots, welcome you.
Yeah, give us a try.
So there's a bunch of different animation styles that you can use for free. And you can actually get really creative with this. This can be as simple as what you just saw or as complex as what I would like to show you. Now YouTube doesn't want to work for me. Go figure. Gotta think quick. Here's a mock iPod commercial.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Good morning, class.
Here's another mock video.
Good morning, teacher.
So this is pretty robust. You can actually do quite a bit with this.
Today, we are going to explore the amazing universe of cells using some simulations created by computer. Also, we are going to watch some videos and presentations that I downloaded yesterday. Is amazing all the multimedia stuff available on internet. Even I have some cool 3D animations. Let me start my laptop to begin the lesson. Let me see, the operative system needs to reboot to perform some updates. I need to reboot again to update the registry, okay.
So they're building this just by dragging and dropping camera movements and pauses and text. There we go. machine. This will screw me big time. It's bad enough that I'm going to have to hold the mic in one hand and hit the damn key in the other. You gave away my workshop. All right, I guess we can start. What's that? Oh, Ryan, you're on deck. That doesn't count as my time. So what I want you to do is just listen up for a moment. How come it's not loading? How come it works on my machine and not yours? Well, anyway, what you should be hearing right now is the Bilkent Youth Symphony Orchestra from Ankara, Turkey, warming up. And if you listen to, oh, no, I'm really screwed. If you listen to Tom Waits, that's actually the best part of the symphony for him. And it's because for him, there's something magical about the sounds people make when they're warming up, when they're limbering. There's something about the unexpected collisions of notes, people doing two different disparate things. For him, it's all about the potential that's in the room at that time. It's all about the creative energy that's flowing at that moment. For Tom Waits, this part is actually anticlimactic. For him, it's all about the creative process. Well, this guy wants to bring that sort of thought into a workshop, specifically the portfolio workshop that we're putting together. Now, too often when we build workshops, we end up with people feeling like this, or worse yet, like this, when we want them to feel like this. You know, and so when we build this workshop, the portfolio workshop, I want folks to feel the energy of the creative process. So how are we going to do that? Well, I think there are a few things that we can do to make that happen. First off, I'd like to encourage failure for these folks that are attending the workshops. Now, for those of you who know me, know that by my humble standards, this is actually the most successful blog I've ever had. But what folks may not know or may have mercifully have forgotten are all the failures that went on to having that blog. But actually, looking back, they're really not failures. I was learning how to be successful. And so I want to create that sort of atmosphere for the people who come to this portfolio workshop. Next, I want to provide examples. You know, the web is kind of the closest thing to infinity that a lot of us are going to experience. And so there's a lot of competition out there for attention. So I want to help folks build a portfolio that's going to make folks stop and actually want to take a look and want to come in and see what's happening. You know, I'd rather have them see this, something that's eye-catching, and when you see what's next, rather than this, which is going to make you hit the gas and move on. So I also want to get folks out of the basement in this workshop. When folks come to our workshops, they're energized about whatever the topic is. They actually want to start creating. They want to play. And all too often, we begin our workshops down here, showing them the plumbing and the wiring and the storage areas. Well, I want to meet folks actually here in the studio. With this portfolio workshop that we're building, I actually want folks to be published within the first 10 minutes of the workshop, and then we'll go from there and see what happens. So that's my goal. I also want to help them develop some new literacy skills. I want to get folks comfortable talking in the multimedia formats that are prevalent today, because that's where conversations are happening, and I want our folks to be in on it. And finally, I want to build a community. I want these folks, with their portfolios, I want them to actually build in a reflective vlogging component into this portfolio. I want it to be living and breathing. And I want them looking at each other's portfolios and blogs and commenting on them. And I want them going out and pulling in other people. And I want them to come to our community site that we're building that's going to be dynamic and fresh and have new content. And I really want to begin it by actually inviting you to help me build all this, because I think together we can make our faculty feel like this guy when he goes to the symphony. So, thanks.
Ryan is up now, and then our last speaker will be Matt Frank.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm going to talk to you about Grassroots video. Grassroots video is the term being given to one way the general public or the mainstream is using services like YouTube. It's a term that is part technology-driven movie making and also part online social experience. This past semester, I was part of a Grassroots video hot team along with Alan Gorky, Kathy Holsing, Chris Long, and Matt Meyer. And we examined Grassroots video from a bunch of different angles and tried to sort out just what sort of videos qualify as grassroots. And we thought about a few different things. And typically, grassroots video has very low production values. There's usually no lights, no sets, no costumes, no professional actors. This is all not Hollywood at all. It can usually be staged or it can be of a live event. The equipment that goes into making grassroots video is either cheap or free and at the very, very least easily acquired. So this can be your cell phone, it can be cheap flip video cameras, webcams that are built into your laptops, any of that kind of thing. Software that is used to edit grassroots video usually come with most computers these days. I'm not plugged in yet, I'm not showing. So like iMovie on Macs and Movie Maker on Windows machines can all be used to edit grassroots video. And even since the hot team closed, we're discovering now video editing apps that are online, like Kaltura, that we used in our digital literacy workshop that can make grassroots video even easier and more accessible for people to use. The key to the grassroots video phenomenon, though, is not the editing that goes into creating it, it's not the filming of it, it's the distribution and publishing of the video. And YouTube and sites like YouTube solves both of these issues with ease and does not cost anything to the participants. So the videos that get uploaded to YouTube and other sites can easily be embedded and shared where communities exist online. So that can be blogs, that can be wikis, that can be across Twitter. So focusing in on Penn State then, a few statistics that we pulled for the Hot Team report. In a 2008 survey of PSU faculty and students shows that 85% of students watch videos on YouTube. So they're encountering grassroots video there. 17% said they had uploaded video to YouTube or similar sites. And I guarantee you, all 17% that upload, that's all grassroots video that they're uploading. And about a third of PSU faculty say that they've used YouTube as a resource for teaching. And surely these numbers have grown in just the year since that survey. So a few examples of what you would know as grassroots video. One that's very, very recent would be the dissension around the Iran elections very recently. As citizens protested in Iran, they were uploading video shot from their cell phones to YouTube, and in conjunction with using Twitter to send that out to the world, they were using this media to gain support for their cause. And this was an example of citizen journalism, which is just one facet of grassroots video. And they were reporting on news before any major news networks could get to it. And this is similar to any sort of thing that might go on around the world. You'll get many different people's perspective all at once, as long as they have the cameras on hand. Other examples of grassroots video that you would know about would be things like David After the Dentist, Charlie Bit My Finger. These are all grassroots video. Other websites besides YouTube that distribute grassroots videos are things like 12 Seconds TV or even Ustream. So right now, Learning Design Summer Camp is creating its own grassroots video because we're streaming this entire conference across Ustream, where the entire world, if it wanted to watch, could plug in and watch our video as it's being created. So while widespread recognition of grassroots video as entertainment and a news source is entering the mainstream, the method of which it's being created has incredible potential for education. We heard from Dirk Mateer yesterday, his Econ 2 videos that are being created by the students, that entire assignment is all based on grassroots video. Even that, the demonstration of the student spraying Axe all over himself, that is true grassroots video because it wasn't even planned for that to be recorded or uploaded to YouTube, and now it's being watched and used as a demonstration all over the place. So for more information on grassroots video, please check out the TLT website and look up the Hot Team's white paper that was uploaded there. Also, feel free, if you're interested in making your own, to contact the Digital Commons, and it's a resource you can use to create your own video. Thank you.
And our final talk by Matt Frank.
Hello. See if we can get a little bit of resolution. Okay. I'm going to talk about screen capture software. I know that's something that a lot of people need to use in their day-to-day activities. I'm going to go over 3 pieces of software that I think go in order of increasing usefulness. So the first I'm going to talk about is Jing. And what Jing allows you to do is just do a simple screen capture. The version that I'm going to use right now is free. It may be cutting off the side over here. Let me try this again. All right. Well, Jing is not working for me. What Jing allows you to do is record a full screen capture, or you can set a window on your monitor of what you're capturing. It's free to download, and the free version only lets you get SWF files, which for the most part are kind of useless. You can't do too much with them, at least as far as uploading them to YouTube or anything like that. You can do a pay service on Jing, and that lets you get MP4 videos that you could upload to YouTube. So overall, I don't think Jing is too useful. Maybe it is for some people. The next one I'll show you guys is Snaps Pro. Snaps Pro costs $69, and it allows you to make a QuickTime movie, so this is a lot more useful, and you can do it at custom resolutions. So if I pick movie right here, I can position this window wherever I want. All right, and I can do Command-Shift-3 to stop it. Oh, there Jing goes. All right. Thank you very much. You're awesome software. Well done. Okay, well, Jing puts this little sun up here, which lets you draw a box to record, and then you can start the recording. All right, there we go. It's doing its thing. I'll stop that, and it puts it in my history, so we can see my video from yesterday. Again, it's just SWF files, so I don't think it's that useful. I'm going to go ahead and close out of it. Okay, so this just finished my movie, what I was recording. It does a bunch of different compressors that I can choose from, so it's a little bit more useful. This is Snaps Pro, and I can save it to my desktop. All right. So there you go. It did the screen capture. That one's pretty useful because you get an MOV file that you can upload. The one that I'm really a fan of, though, is kind of new. We started playing with it last year. It's called ScreenFlow, and I'll show you what I like about it. ScreenFlow doesn't let you set the area of your screen that you're going to record. It records your whole screen. So I'm going to hit record, and I'll do Command-Shift-2 to stop. All right, so it's recording whatever I'm doing. I can open up Final Cut Server, whatever. And I just need a short video. I'm going to do Command-Shift-2 to stop that. And when I do, it brings up an edit window. So I can actually shorten my video, lengthen it, or I can add in video actions. So what's really nice about this is if we watch it, it's got my whole screen. But I can add actions. So say at this point of the video, I wanted to zoom in on this folder. I can hit add a video action right here, and I can scale up my video. And I could zoom in on a particular part of the screen, and then I can play it for a little bit. And I could add another video action, and I could zoom back out to 100%. And I'll reposition my window. And now if we watch that, So it makes it really useful for learning videos where you may want to zoom in on the button that you pressed and show off, click here to advance to the next step. I think ScreenFlow is by far the most useful of these screen capture softwares. You can export an MOV file, so you could upload it up to YouTube. It's $100, and it is Macintosh only. So, all right, thank you very much. If you had Flash installed, you could. If you have QuickTime Pro, you could just export the MOV file to an FLV, but you would have to have Flash installed on your machine.
Well, thank you everybody for doing the lightning talks, and this actually is the last session that we have at the end of today. After this is pretty much just networking. You're welcome to stay in here. We have the room until about 5 o'clock. We have a lot of stuff to take down, the power cords and things like that. So if you have any other questions about copyright or that movie I was playing over lunch or any of the other lightning talks, just grab somebody. But again, thank you for coming to Learning Design Summer Camp. Brett put up a evaluation form on the wiki, and I'll send out an email to everybody just to remind you to fill out that evaluation form and to see whether we should do events like this. I mean, this is actually a fairly low-cost event. We get the room for free. We use the meal cards. We don't print agendas. If you want a T-shirt or something, you have to print your own, but I think that's kind of a cool aspect to it. But please give us feedback and let us know how we can improve it this year or for next year if we want to run another one next year. And Brett, did you have anything else to add?
Probably a week after next, I'll be sending out an email to everyone that's either come to this or has volunteered or something. Alan talked about feedback. I try to like to get everyone together into a room, either real or virtually, just to talk about the event and talk about where we go with it next year or some ideas. Some of you have put up some ideas on the wiki already. I'd like to extend that, move it forward, and see where we can go with it, what we can do, because this was fantastic. It was really great to see all of you, and everything just went really smoothly. What can we do to make it better? How can we kick it up a notch?
All right, thanks for coming, everybody, and Cole. And we'll see you.
I want to thank Brett Bixler and Alan Gorky for all their work on this. This is quite a transformation from the ID meeting that we had a couple of years ago. And while it is a community-based event and the wiki is where all this happens, you guys probably, unless you're on the committee of the volunteers, you have no idea how much work these two men put into this event. It's just been unbelievable, and that's why it sort of looks like it just happens and it's easy and it's informal, but it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and I can't thank both of you enough for giving your time and for doing this, because this was an and one, right? We didn't take anything off anybody's plates for this. This is just an and one, so great job, guys.